Elena wiped her hands on her jeans, the dampness from the coffee cup she'd just carried still clinging to her palms. Outside the cafe window, the city moved like a river, fast, cold, and indifferent. She watched a man in a suit hurry past, barely glancing at the homeless woman huddled near the subway grate. That was life here. You either kept moving or you got swept away. She checked her phone again. One new message from the hospital billing department. Final notice. The words blurred for a second. Her mom had been gone for 8 months now, but the debt she'd left behind felt like a ghost that wouldn't stop knocking. Chemo, hospital stays, the experimental treatment they'd tried in the last weeks. It all added up to a number that made Elena's stomach twist every time she saw it. She'd sold her car, moved into a shoebox apartment above a laundromat, and taken every freelance gig she could find. Logo designs for dog walkers, social media banners for yoga instructors who paid in good vibes. It wasn't enough. She stirred her black coffee, not because she wanted to, but because it gave her hands something to do. She hadn't slept much the night before. The radiator in her apartment had been clanging like a dying robot, and her mind kept circling the same thought. What if I just disappear? Not literally, she wasn't that dramatic. But what if she packed a bag, got on a bus, and started over somewhere no one knew her name or her debt? A woman slid into the chair across from her without asking. Elena looked up, startled. The woman was polished. Cashmere scarf, designer sunglasses perched on her head, nails like polished stones. She smelled like expensive perfume and impatience. "You're Elena, right?" the woman asked, voice smooth but sharp like a knife wrapped in silk. Elena frowned. "Do I know you?" "No, but I know you need money." The woman placed a sleek black envelope on the table. "And I'm offering you $10,000 cash." Elena didn't touch it. $10,000 was more than she'd made in the last 6 months. It was also exactly the amount the hospital said she owed before they'd stop calling. She kept her voice steady. "What do I have to do?" The woman leaned in slightly. "There's a man, a CEO, very successful, very lonely. His sister set him up on a blind date tomorrow night at LeClaire with Amanda Kensington. You've probably seen her in magazines. Socialite. Perfect hair. Perfect teeth, perfect lies." Elena stayed quiet, sipping her coffee even though it had gone cold. "I used to be engaged to him," the woman said, her voice dropping. "Things ended badly. And now he thinks he's ready to move on? With a her? Please." She let out a short, bitter laugh. "All I want is for him to realize that love is a waste of time. That he's better off alone." Elena's stomach tightened. "You want me to, what? Scare off his date?" "Better," the woman said, sliding the envelope closer. "I want you to ruin it. Make a scene. Spill wine on Amanda. Whisper something scandalous in his ear. Tell the waiter he stiffed you on a tip last time. Whatever it takes. Make him look foolish. Make him walk out humiliated. If he leaves that restaurant convinced dating is a joke, you get paid." Elena stared at the envelope. $10,000. Enough to clear the debt. Enough to breathe again. But something about the request felt slimy, like touching a wet penny. "Why me?" "Because you're invisible," the woman said bluntly. "You're not on his radar. You're not famous, not connected. You're just a girl with a coffee stain on her shirt. Perfect for the role." Elena glanced down at her shirt. Sure enough, a brown smudge from this morning's rushed breakfast. She almost laughed. But the laugh died in her throat when she thought of her mom's face during those last days. Pale, tired, but still trying to smile. "I don't want to hurt anyone," she said quietly. "You're not hurting him," the woman snapped. "You're saving him from wasting his time on someone who only wants his money. And honestly, he needs a wake-up call. He's been hiding behind that little girl of his for years." Elena flinched. She'd read about him online after the woman first approached her days ago. Just a quick search out of curiosity. His name was Daniel Hartwell, founder of a tech company that built apps for kids with learning disabilities. Widower, father to a 6-year-old named Lily. His wife had died of cancer 3 years ago. There were photos of him at charity events, always with Lily holding his hand, always looking like he was carrying the weight of the world but trying not to let it show. "He's not hiding," Elena said, surprising herself. "He's just grieving." The woman rolled her eyes. "Call it what you want. The offer stands. Show up tomorrow night at LeClaire as a server. My cousin manages the place, she'll get you in. Do the job, and the money's yours. Walk away, and you keep drowning." She stood, tossing a 20 on the table for Elena's coffee. Think fast. The date's at 7. Then she was gone, heels clicking against the tile like a countdown. Elena sat there for a long time. The cafe noise faded into a hum. The hiss of the espresso machine, the chatter of students, the clink of spoons. She opened the envelope just enough to peek inside. Thick stack of bills. Real. Possible. That night, she lay in bed staring at the water stain on her ceiling that looked like a sad cloud. She thought about her mom telling her, "Never take money for doing something that makes your soul itch." But her mom hadn't been facing down a debt collector with a court summons. Her mom hadn't been alone. She pulled out her laptop and typed his name again. This time she dug deeper, found an interview where he talked about how his daughter asked every night if mommy was coming back, how he cried in the shower so Lily wouldn't hear, how he started his company because his wife believed every child deserved to be understood. Elena closed the laptop. Her chest ached, but then she remembered the hospital letter, the way her hands shook when she opened it. The shame of telling her landlord she'd be late, again. By morning, she'd made her decision. She called the number the woman had given her. "I'll do it," she said, voice flat. "Good girl," the woman replied. "Be at Leclerc at 6. Wear black. And don't mess this up." The next evening, Elena stood in the staff bathroom of Leclerc, adjusting the borrowed server's uniform. Black pants, white blouse, too tight shoes. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup, just like the woman wanted. "Blend in," she'd said. "Be a ghost." Through the kitchen door, she could hear the murmur of wealthy diners, the clink of fine china, the soft piano music. She took a deep breath. Her plan was simple. Approach the table during the main course, trip near Amanda, spill red wine on her dress, and maybe whisper something like, "He only agreed to this date because his sister guilted him." Quick, clean, over. She peeked through the service hatch. There he was. Daniel Hartwell sat at a corner table, back straight, hands folded. He looked younger than in photos, less guarded. And next to him in a tiny chair with a booster seat was Lily. The little girl wore a yellow dress with a unicorn on it and was carefully arranging bread rolls into a tower. Elena blinked. He'd brought his daughter? Her stomach dropped. The woman hadn't mentioned a child would be there. None of the articles said he brought Lily on dates. Panic fluttered in her chest. How was she supposed to sabotage a man eating dinner with his 6-year-old? Before she could retreat, the hostess waved her over. "Table 7 needs water refills, go." Elena grabbed a pitcher and walked toward them, heart hammering. She kept her eyes down, focused on the glasses. As she poured water for Daniel, he looked up and said, "Thank you." His voice was calm, kind. Not what she expected from a CEO. Then Lily looked up at her with wide, curious eyes. "Hi, do you like unicorns?" Elena froze. Yeah, I do." "My name's Lily," the girl said proudly. "This is my daddy." "He's the best," Daniel smiled, a small, tired smile, but real. "Lily, remember what we talked about? We don't bother the staff, but she has a sparkly pen." Lily pointed to the pen clipped to Elena's apron. Just a cheap gel pen with glitter, but to a 6-year-old it was magic. Elena almost smiled. "It's yours if you promise to draw something beautiful with it," Lily gasped. "Really?" Before Elena could answer, a woman in a shimmering silver dress swept in, late and flustered. Amanda Kensington. She barely glanced at Lily, just air-kissed Daniel and said, "Sorry, darling, traffic was a nightmare." "And who's this?" She gestured vaguely at Lily like she was a piece of misplaced luggage. Daniel's expression hardened slightly. "This is my daughter, Lily. Lily, this is Amanda." "Hello, sweetie," Amanda said, already opening her menu. "Do you have a kid's menu? Or is she just having bread?" Lily's face fell. Elena's hand tightened around the water pitcher. She wasn't supposed to care. She was here to ruin this. But watching Lily shrink into her chair, she felt a hot wave of anger. Not at Daniel, but at Amanda. And at herself for being part of this. She stepped back unnoticed. Her original plan felt cruel now. Messing with a man was one thing. Hurting a child's feelings? That was different, but the $10,000 whispered in her ear. Just do it. Get it over with. She waited until the main course arrived. Steak for Daniel and Amanda, pasta for Lily. She picked up a tray with 2 glasses of red wine. Her hands trembled slightly. As she approached, Amanda snapped at a passing waiter for bringing the wrong bread. Daniel frowned. Amanda, there's no need to. I'm just being honest, Amanda cut in. If you pay for fine dining, you expect standards. Lily looked down at her plate. Elena took a breath. This was her moment. She stepped forward, feigning a stumble. But Lily chose that exact second to stand up, holding her glitter pen high. Look, Daddy. Ellie said I could have it. Elena lost her balance for real. The tray tilted. Wine sloshed, but not toward Amanda. It splashed onto the tablecloth, narrowly missing Lily, and dripped onto Daniel's sleeve. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Elena gasped, grabbing napkins, but Daniel didn't yell. He didn't scowl. He stood quickly, shielding Lily from the spill, and said, It's okay. Accidents happen. Then he looked at Elena, not with anger, but with something like recognition. Like he saw past the uniform, past the act. You're the one from the cafe, he said quietly. Elena's blood ran cold. Had he seen her with the woman? Did he know? Before she could respond, Amanda stood up, disgusted. This is ridiculous. I didn't come here to watch a circus. Daniel, either control your staff or I'm leaving. Daniel turned to her, calm but firm. Amanda, she didn't do it on purpose. And Lily is not a circus act. Amanda's eyes narrowed. Fine. Call me when you're ready to date like an adult. She grabbed her purse and walked out. Silence fell over the table. Lily looked up at her dad, eyes wide. Is she mad at me? No, sweetheart, Daniel said, kneeling beside her. She's just not very kind. He turned to Elena, who was still frozen with napkins in hand. Thank you for trying to help, he said gently. And thank you for the pen. Then he did something unexpected. He handed her a business card. If you're ever looking for design work, my company's hiring. You seem like someone who sees people clearly. Elena took the card, numb. Her mission was technically a success. Amanda was gone, Daniel looked shaken. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like she'd just kicked a puppy and called it justice. She mumbled another apology and hurried back to the kitchen, the card burning in her pocket. That night, sitting on her fire escape with a cup of instant noodles, she stared at the card. Hartwell Innovations. CEO, single dad, widower, and she'd just lied to his face. The $10,000 sat on her kitchen table, untouched. She hadn't called the woman yet. She hadn't told her it was done, because for the first time in months, Elena didn't feel desperate. She felt ashamed, and worse. She couldn't stop thinking about the way Lily had called her Ellie, like they were already friends. She put the card in her drawer, next to her mom's old locket. Maybe, just maybe, there was another way out of this mess. One that didn't involve breaking someone else's heart to save her own. 3 days passed and the envelope of cash still sat on Elena's kitchen counter like a guilty secret. She hadn't touched it. Every time she walked by, she felt like it was watching her. She kept replaying that night at the restaurant, the way the little girl had smiled at her, the quiet strength in the man's voice when he defended his daughter, the business card now tucked in her sketchbook like a bookmark she was too afraid to read. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her swipe. Hi, is this Elena? A man's voice asked, calm, familiar. Her stomach dropped. Yes, this is Daniel Hartwell. From LeClaire. She froze, noodles halfway to her mouth. Oh, hi. I hope I'm not overstepping, he said, and she could hear the hesitation in his voice like he was choosing his words carefully. But I meant what I said about the design work. We're launching a new app for kids with reading difficulties, and our current designer just quit. I saw your portfolio online. You did that literacy campaign for the community center, right? Elena blinked. She'd forgotten about that tiny project. It had paid her rent for 1 month, barely. Yeah, that was me. I loved it, he said simply. The colors, the way the characters felt real, not cartoonish. My daughter actually asked to read the story again, and she usually hates reading. Elena's throat tightened. She's a sweet kid. She is, he said, and she heard the smile in his voice. Look, I know this is sudden, but if you're available, I'd like to offer you the job. Fair pay, flexible hours. You can work from home. We just need someone who understands that these kids aren't broken. They just learn differently. She should have said no. She was tangled up in a lie, paid to sabotage him, and now he was offering her honest work. It felt like standing in the rain after stealing an umbrella. But then she thought of her mom's voice. When someone offers you a chance to do good, take it, even if your hands are dirty. I'd love to, she said, surprised by how much she meant it. They set up a video call for the next afternoon. Elena cleaned her apartment for the first time in weeks, hid the hospital bills under a cookbook, and borrowed a plain white shirt from her neighbor so she wouldn't look like she lived on instant coffee and regret. When Daniel appeared on screen, he was in a quiet home office, bookshelves behind him, sunlight streaming through the window. No suit, just a soft sweater, hair slightly messy like he'd been running his hands through it, and sitting cross-legged on the floor beside him, coloring with intense focus, was Lily. "Hi, Ellie," the girl shouted, waving a purple crayon. Elena smiled without thinking. "Hi, Lily," Daniel chuckled. She insisted on joining. "Said you promised her a drawing?" "I did," Elena said. "I'll send one tonight." They talked about the app, how it would use voice recognition to help kids sound out words, how the characters would reflect different learning styles, how the goal wasn't speed but confidence. Elena found herself leaning forward, ideas bubbling up. She sketched a quick concept on paper, a friendly owl with big glasses who whispered encouragement, and held it up to the camera. Lily gasped. "That's Mr. Hoot. He's perfect!" Daniel's eyes lit up. "You got it on the first try." For 2 hours they brainstormed like old friends. No awkwardness, no suspicion. Just two people who cared about making something kind. By the end, Daniel said, "I'll send the contract tonight. And if you're okay with it, maybe you could come by the office next week. Lily wants to show you her room. She's turned it into a design studio." Elena's heart squeezed. "I'd like that." The next few days blurred into a rhythm of sketching, revising, and late-night emails that always ended with, "Thanks, Elena, you're a gift." She started looking forward to his messages. Not because of the money, though the pay was more than fair, but because he saw her work, really saw it. And he never made her feel small. Then came Friday. She arrived at his office, a bright, open space downtown with beanbags in the corner and a wall covered in kids' drawings. Lily ran to her the second she stepped inside, dragging her to a table covered in crayons, glitter glue, and half-finished storyboards. "Look," Lily said, holding up a wobbly drawing of a girl with dark hair and a sparkly pen. "That's you. You're the hero." Elena's eyes stung. "I'm not a hero, Lily." "Yes, you are," the girl said firmly. "Heroes help people feel brave." Daniel watched from the doorway, arms crossed, a soft look on his face. "She's been talking about you nonstop." They spent the afternoon testing early app prototypes. Lily read aloud, stumbling over words, but Mr. Hoot, now officially named, would gently repeat them in a warm voice. Each time she got one right, she beamed. At one point, Lily tugged Elena's sleeve. "Do you have a mommy?" Elena hesitated. "She's in heaven now." Lily nodded seriously. "Mine too. Daddy says she's a star now. Do you think our mommies are friends up there?" "I hope so," Elena whispered. Later, as she packed up to leave, Daniel walked her to the elevator. "You're good with her," he said quietly. "Not just patient, you—" "Listen, it's not hard," Elena said. "She's easy to love." He looked at her for a long moment like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "You know, that night at the restaurant I thought you were just a server. But there was something about you. Like you saw what was really happening." Elena's pulse jumped. Was he onto her? Before she could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, sighed. "It's my sister. She's been worried I'm rushing into things." He rolled his eyes, but there was affection in it. "She means well." Elena nodded. "Family does that." As the elevator doors opened, he said, "Same time next week?" "Yeah," she said. "Same time." But that night her phone buzzed again, this time from the woman who'd paid her. "Did you finish the job?" "I saw Amanda posted online about storming out." "Good. Send me proof you've cut ties with him and I'll wire the rest." Elena stared at the message. The rest? She'd never asked for more. She'd only agreed to one night. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She could lie, say she'd ghosted him, take the money and disappear, but then her phone dinged again, this time from Daniel. "Lily fell asleep holding your sketch of Mr. Hoot. Thank you for today. You gave her a good day." She deleted the woman's message without replying. The next morning she went to the bank and withdrew the full $10,000 from the envelope. She placed it in a plain envelope of her own, addressed it to the woman, and wrote on the front, "I can't buy peace with someone else's pain." She dropped it in the mailbox and walked away, lighter than she'd felt in months. But peace didn't last. 2 days later, as she was sketching in the park during lunch, a sleek black car pulled up. The window rolled down. It was the woman. "You returned my money," she said, voice icy. "That was stupid." "I couldn't do it," Elena said, standing her ground. "He's not what you think. He's weak," the woman snapped, hiding behind that kid, pretending he's noble. "He broke my heart and now he thinks he can just move on like it meant nothing." "He's grieving," Elena said. "Just like you." The woman's eyes narrowed. "Don't pretend you understand. You're just a hired ghost. But listen carefully. If you don't finish what you started, if you keep cozying up to him, I'll make sure everyone knows you were paid to humiliate him. The press loves a scandal. How do you think that'll look when he finds out the woman he's trusting was paid to destroy him?" Elena's blood ran cold. "I'm not doing anything wrong, aren't you?" The woman leaned forward. "You're taking his money, spending time with his daughter, letting him believe you're genuine. That's worse than spilling wine. That's betrayal," with a smile. She drove off, leaving Elena standing on the sidewalk, hands shaking. That night she barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lily's face, trusting, bright, full of hope. What if the woman told the truth? What if Daniel found out she'd been part of that setup? He'd never forgive her. Worse, Lily would feel tricked. She almost quit the job. Sent an email saying she was overwhelmed, needed to step back. But then she remembered Lily saying, "You're the hero. Heroes don't run," so she showed up the next week, heart pounding, ready to face whatever came. But Daniel was distracted. He kept checking his phone, his usual calm replaced with tension. "Everything okay?" Elena asked gently. He ran a hand through his hair. "My sister. She's upset, says I'm being reckless, bringing someone new into Lily's life so fast." Elena's stomach dropped. "I'm just here for the app." "I know," he said quickly. "And I appreciate your work. It's just, after my wife, I promised myself I'd protect Lily from chaos, from people who leave." The words hit like a punch. He wasn't talking about her, she hoped, but the guilt coiled tighter in her chest. Later, as Lily showed her a new drawing, a family of 3 with a tall man, a little girl, and a woman with a sparkly pen, Elena had to look away. That evening, alone in her apartment, she made a decision. She opened her laptop and started a new document. Not a design, a letter. "Daniel, there's something I need to tell you. I wasn't just a server that night. I was hired to ruin your date. I took the money because I was desperate. But from the moment I saw you with Lily, I knew I couldn't go through with it. I've regretted it every day since. I don't expect forgiveness, but you deserve the truth." She typed it 3 times, deleting it each time. The words felt too small for the weight of what she'd done. Instead, she printed out her latest app design, Mr. Hoot guiding a child through a forest of words, and tucked a note underneath. "Honesty is the first step to bravery. I'm trying." She left it on his desk the next morning before he arrived. She didn't stay to see his reaction. She walked home in the rain, not caring that her shoes were soaked, her hair dripping. For the first time, she felt clean, even if it cost her everything, because real love, real trust, couldn't be built on lies. Even the ones you told yourself were necessary, and maybe, just maybe, if she kept showing up with honesty instead of tricks, she could earn a place in their world, not as a saboteur, but as someone who finally chose to do the right thing. Even when it hurt. A week passed and Daniel didn't call. No emails, no messages, not even a reply to the note she'd left on his desk. Elena told herself it was fine. She'd expected this. You don't confess to being paid to sabotage someone's life and then get a thank you card. Still, every time her phone buzzed, her chest tightened. And every night she lay awake wondering if Lily asked about her, if the little girl noticed the sparkly pen was gone, or if Mr. Hoot felt lonely without her drawings. She threw herself into other work, redesigning a bakery's logo, creating social posts for a dog shelter, but her sketches felt flat, lifeless, like she'd lost the part of her that knew how to make things feel warm. Then, on a rainy Tuesday, her doorbell rang. She opened it to find Daniel standing there, coat damp, hair messy from the wind, holding a paper bag that smelled like cinnamon and sugar. Behind him, buckled into a stroller with a rain cover, was Lily, clutching a stuffed owl and grinning. "Hi," he said, voice quiet but steady. Can we come in? Elena stepped back without thinking, heart hammering. The apartment was a mess. Laundry piled on the couch, dishes in the sink, but he didn't seem to care. Lily wiggled out of the stroller the second the door closed and ran to Elena, arms wide. "You came back," she shouted, hugging Elena's legs. "Daddy said you were sad, so we brought donuts." Elena looked at Daniel, confused. "You told her I was sad?" "I told her you needed a friend," he said gently. And she insisted. He set the bag on her tiny kitchen table. "I read your note." More than once, Elena swallowed. "I didn't expect you to understand." "I didn't at first," he admitted, sitting down. Lily climbed onto Elena's lap like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I was angry. Felt stupid. Like I'd been played. I never meant to hurt you," Elena said quickly. "Or Lily. I know that now," he said. "Because I watched you. The way you talked to her. The way you stayed late to fix that animation glitch so she wouldn't be disappointed. The way you remembered she liked purple crayons, not blue. That's not acting. That's care." Elena's eyes burned. "I was paid to ruin your date." "That's true, Mike, but you didn't," he said. "You spilled wine, sure, but you also gave my daughter a pen that made her feel seen. You stood up for her when Amanda ignored her. You didn't humiliate me, you humanized me." He paused, looking out the window at the rain. "After my wife died, I built walls. Thick ones. I told myself I was protecting Lily. But really, I was just scared. Scared of trusting the wrong person again, scared of letting someone in only to lose them. When you showed up messy and real and honest about your own mess, it scared me more than any blind date ever could." Lily tugged Elena's sleeve. "Ellie, are you still our friend?" Elena looked down at the little girl, her big eyes full of hope, her cheeks smudged with chocolate from the donut she'd already devoured. "If you'll still have me," she whispered. Lily nodded hard. "Forever," Daniel smiled faintly. "We're not perfect, but we're trying, and I'd like you to keep working on the app. Not because I need a designer, but because Lily needs you. And maybe I do too." Elena didn't say yes right away. She asked for time, to think, to be sure she wasn't stepping into their lives just because she felt guilty or lonely. He respected that. Said he'd be back next week with or without donuts. But the next day, something unexpected happened. Her mom's hospital called. Not about the debt, about a payment. "Your balance has been paid in full," the billing clerk said, sounding almost confused. "Anonymous donor. Receipt shows it was processed 3 days ago." Elena sat on the floor of her apartment, phone in hand, tears streaming down her face. She knew who it was. No one else knew the exact amount. No one else cared enough to do it quietly without fanfare. That evening, she texted Daniel one word. "Why?" His reply came fast. "Because everyone deserves a fresh start. Even the ones who think they don't." Work resumed, but differently now. No more hiding. No more pretending. Elena came to the office twice a week, and sometimes, when deadlines were tight, Daniel would bring Lily to her apartment with coloring books and takeout. They'd sit at her small table, him on the floor because her chairs were too short, and brainstorm while Lily drew stories about Mr. Hoot and his new friend, Ellie the Brave. One afternoon, as they tested a new voice feature, Lily looked up from her drawing and said, "Daddy, is Ellie going to be your girlfriend?" Silence. Elena's face burned. Daniel cleared his throat. "Lily, that's not—" "But she's nice," Lily insisted. "And she doesn't wear sparkly dresses like Amanda. She wears comfy shirts and draws good pictures. And she listens." Daniel looked at Elena, a question in his eyes, not pushy, just curious. Elena took a breath. "I'm not looking for anything like that," she said honestly. "I just want to be your friend." And Lily's. "That's enough," he said softly. More than enough. But the peace didn't last. Because the woman, the one who'd paid her, hadn't forgotten. Elena saw her first at the grocery store, watching from the cereal aisle. Then outside her building, sitting in a parked car. She tried to ignore it, but the feeling of being watched clung to her like a shadow. One evening, as she walked home from the subway, the woman stepped out from behind a bus stop. "You're still playing house," she said, voice low and sharp. "How sweet." Elena kept walking. "Leave me alone." "You think he'll still want you when he knows you lied for weeks? That you only stayed because you felt guilty?" The woman stepped closer. "I have photos, you know. Of you meeting me at the cafe. Of you taking that envelope. One call to the press and your little redemption story turns into a tabloid nightmare." Elena stopped. "Why do you care so much? It's been years. He's moved on. He doesn't get to move on, the woman hissed. Not while I'm still stuck in the past. And if I can't have him, no one will. You're hurting yourself more than him, Elena said quietly. And you're using me to do it. The woman laughed, a cold, broken sound. Then stopped being useful. She turned and walked away, heels clicking like a warning. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She thought about quitting, disappearing, saving Daniel and Lily from the storm she'd brought into their lives. But then her phone lit up, a photo from Daniel. Lily asleep on the couch, Mr. Hoot tucked under her arm, a crayon drawing on the coffee table, 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. At the bottom, in wobbly letters, my family. Elena cried then, not from fear but from love. A love she hadn't asked for, didn't deserve, but couldn't walk away from. The next morning she went to Daniel's office early. He was alone, sipping coffee, reviewing code. She sat across from him. There's something else I need to tell you. He put his cup down. Okay. She told him everything, the woman's threats, the photos, the fear that it would all blow up in their faces. She braced for anger, for him to tell her to leave for good. Instead, he leaned forward, eyes serious. Her name is Victoria, my ex-fiancée. We broke up when I chose to stay with my wife during her last months instead of going to a business trip Victoria demanded I take. She never forgave me for choosing family over her. Elena nodded. She's still angry. She's grieving too, he said quietly. Just in a different way. But that doesn't give her the right to hurt you. He stood up, walked to his desk, and pulled out a folder. I've been collecting evidence. Emails, texts, witness statements from the restaurant manager. If she goes public, I'll go public with the truth, that she paid someone to interfere in my personal life. It won't be pretty, but it'll be honest. Elena stared at him. You do that for me? For us, he corrected gently. For Lily, for the truth. He paused, then added, you don't have to carry this alone anymore. Something inside her cracked open, not in pain, but in relief. For the first time since her mom got sick, she wasn't fighting by herself. Later that week, they launched the beta version of the app at a local elementary school. Kids laughed as Mr. Hoot cheered them on. Teachers thanked them for making reading feel safe. Lily stood beside Elena, handing out stickers she'd drawn herself. Afterward, as they packed up, Daniel said, you know, my wife used to say that the right people don't just enter your life, they fit. Like a missing piece you didn't know you were holding. Elena looked at him, then at Lily, who was now trying to teach Mr. Hoot how to dance. I think I'm starting to believe that, she said. He didn't kiss her, didn't make promises. But he took her hand as they walked to the car, and Lily squeezed in between them, chattering about how Ellie should come to her school play next week. And in that moment, walking under a sky just turning gold with sunset, Elena felt something she hadn't in years. Hope. Not the desperate kind that claws at you, but the quiet kind that settles in your bones and says, you're home. She knew the storm with Victoria wasn't over, but she also knew she wasn't alone anymore. And sometimes that's enough to face anything. The gala was supposed to be a celebration, a night where Daniel would accept an award for his work with children's literacy, and the new app, now called Brave Pages, would be unveiled to donors and educators. Elena had spent weeks designing the presentation slides, the digital banners, even the little owl-shaped pins guests would wear. She'd done it all with a quiet joy, like she was stitching pieces of her own healing into every pixel. She wasn't planning to go. She didn't own a fancy dress, and the thought of mingling with wealthy strangers made her palms sweat. But Lily had begged, you have to come, Ellie. You made Mr. Hoot. It's your night too. Daniel had looked at her over Lily's head and said simply, please come. So she borrowed a navy blue dress from her neighbor, pinned her hair back, and wore the only pair of heels she owned, slightly scuffed but clean. When she arrived at the Grand Hotel ballroom, she felt out of place like a sparrow in a room full of peacocks. But then Lily spotted her, squealed, and ran over in a tiny lavender dress, dragging her to the front row. You look like a real designer, Lily whispered, eyes wide. Elena smiled. I feel like I'm playing dress-up. You're not, Daniel said, appearing beside her. He wore a dark suit, but his tie was already loose, like he couldn't wait to take it off. You belong here. The evening started beautifully. Speeches praised the app's impact, how kids who once hated reading now asked for bedtime stories. Teachers shared tearful testimonials. When Daniel stepped on stage to accept his award, he didn't talk about funding or tech. He talked about patience, about how every child deserves to be met where they are. And then, to Elena's shock, he said, "None of this would exist without a designer who saw not just a project, but people. Someone who reminded me that kindness is the strongest kind of innovation." The crowd applauded. Elena's face burned. Lily squeezed her hand under the table. But as the lights dimmed for dinner, Elena noticed a woman standing near the back. Victoria. She wasn't dressed for a gala. She wore a long coat, sunglasses despite the evening hour, and held a phone pointed toward the stage. Their eyes met for just a second before Victoria turned and slipped out. A cold knot formed in Elena's stomach. The next morning, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Friends, old coworkers, even her landlord, all sending the same link. Tech CEO's secret scandal. Paid actress hired to humiliate blind date. Her blood turned to ice. She clicked. The article was brutal. Grainy security footage from LeClaire, edited to show her deliberately tripping, whispering into Daniel's ear, then smirking as Amanda stormed out. Quotes from an anonymous source claimed Elena was a professional saboteur hired to destroy Daniel's reputation. The headline screamed, "Love for sale, the woman who played the grieving dad for cash." Comments flooded in. How could she do that to a single dad? Hope he sues her. Using a kid to get close? Disgusting. Elena sat on her bed, shaking. She tried calling Daniel. Straight to voicemail. Texts went unanswered. Even Lily's usual morning drawing sent daily via Daniel's phone was missing. By noon, she got an email from Hartwell Innovations. "Your services are no longer required. Please return all company materials." No explanation. No chance to speak. She wanted to scream. To tell the world the truth. That she'd tried to back out, that she'd returned the money, that she'd fallen in love with their honesty, not their money. But who would believe her? The video looked damning, and Victoria had made sure the narrative painted Elena as the villain. She packed up her design files, boxed her sketchbooks, and left everything at the office lobby. The security guard wouldn't even let her inside. "Mr. Hartwell's orders," he said gently but firmly. For days, she stayed in her apartment, blinds drawn. She ignored calls, deleted social media, ate dry cereal for dinner. The shame was suffocating. Not just because of the lies, but because she'd let herself believe, even for a moment, that she could be part of something good. Now she'd ruined it. For Daniel, for Lily, for herself. Then, on the fourth night, there was a knock. Not a text. Not a call. A real knock? She peered through the peephole. It was the restaurant manager from LeClaire, the one who'd helped her get the server job that night. A kind woman with silver hair and tired eyes. Elena opened the door a crack. "I'm not really." "I saw the article," the woman said, cutting her off. "And I know it's garbage." She held out a USB drive. "This is the full unedited security footage from that night. Time-stamped. Shows you trying to steady yourself. Shows Amanda being rude. Shows Mr. Hartwell catching you before you fell. It also shows you giving that little girl a pen and making her smile while her date ignored her." Elena took the drive, hands trembling. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because I've been a server for 30 years, the woman said. "I know the difference between someone causing trouble and someone trying to do the right thing in a messy situation. You were never the bad guy." After she left, Elena plugged in the drive, watched the footage. There it was. Her stumble was real, not staged. Daniel's hand on her arm was gentle, not angry. And Lily's face, pure joy when she got the pen. She emailed the file to Daniel immediately with one line. "This is the truth. I never meant to hurt you." She didn't expect a reply. But 2 hours later, her doorbell rang again. This time it was Daniel. He looked exhausted, eyes shadowed, suit wrinkled, like he hadn't slept. He didn't say anything at first. Just stood there holding a folded piece of paper. "I watched the footage," he said finally, voice rough. "All of it. Then I called the restaurant. Spoke to the manager. She told me everything. How you were nervous, how you tried to help Lily, how you looked like you wanted to disappear after the spill." Elena swallowed. "I did. I was angry," he admitted. "Not at you, at myself. For being so quick to believe the worst. After everything we'd shared, I should have trusted you." "You had every reason not to," she said softly. "The video looked bad, and I was paid." That part's true, but you walked away from it, he said. You gave the money back. You stayed honest even when it cost you. That's who you are. He unfolded the paper in his hand. It was Lily's latest drawing. 3 figures again, but this time the middle one was scribbled out in black crayon. At the bottom, in shaky letters, "Why did Ellie go away? Did I do bad?" Elena's breath caught. "Oh, Lily." "She hasn't eaten dinner for 2 nights, Daniel said, voice breaking. "She keeps asking if you left because she wasn't good enough." I told her no, but she needs to hear it from you. Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. I never wanted her to think that. Then come back, he said. Not for me, for her, for the truth. She didn't go to the office the next day. Instead, she went to Lily's school during recess. She stood by the fence, heart in her throat, until she saw the little girl running across the playground with her owl backpack bouncing. When Lily saw her, she stopped dead, then sprinted. "Ellie," she cried, crashing into Elena's legs. "You came back. Daddy said you might." Elena knelt, hugging her tight. "I'm so sorry I scared you. I never left because of you. You're the best part." Lily pulled back, eyes serious. "Did the bad lady hurt you?" Elena blinked. "How do you know about that?" "Daddy told me," Lily said. "He said someone lied about you because they're sad inside. But we don't have to be scared. Because we tell the truth." Elena looked up. Daniel stood a few feet away, watching them, eyes soft. Later at his apartment, over grilled cheese sandwiches, Lily's favorite, Daniel laid out his plan. "Victoria's lawyer already called me. She's threatening to go to more outlets unless I drop the charity partnership with her family's foundation." "And?" Elena asked. "And I told them we're going public with everything," he said. "The full footage. Her message is to you. My statement. I won't let her use my daughter's pain as a weapon." Elena reached for his hand without thinking. "It's going to be messy." "It already is," he said. "But maybe it's time to stop hiding." The next week, Daniel released a short video on the company's social channels. No dramatic music. Just him, sitting at his kitchen table, Lily's drawings on the wall behind him. He told the whole story, Victoria's bitterness, Elena's initial mistake, her choice to do the right thing, and how they'd both been trying to build something real in the wreckage. He didn't villainize Victoria. He just said, hurt people, but that doesn't mean we have to keep passing the pain along. He ended with, the real story isn't about sabotage. It's about second chances, and about a little girl who taught us both that love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, even when you're scared. The internet shifted overnight. Support poured in. Teachers shared how brave pages helped their students. Parents thanked Elena for designing with empathy. Even a few news outlets ran follow-up pieces titled, "When Truth Wins, a Story of Redemption, Not Scandal." Victoria went silent. No more threats, no more photos. Maybe she finally saw that her anger wasn't hurting Daniel. It was just keeping her stuck. One evening, as Elena helped Lily glue glitter onto a thank you card for the restaurant manager, Daniel handed her a thick envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Your full payment for the app," he said, "plus a bonus and a new contract." She opened it. Inside was a job offer, not just as a designer, but as creative director. And at the bottom, in his handwriting, "We'd be honored if you'd stay." She looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "I don't need a title." "I know," he said. "But you deserve to be seen for who you really are." Lily tugged her sleeve. "Does this mean you're staying forever, Ellie?" Elena smiled, wiping her eyes. "If you'll still have me." Lily nodded, then whispered, "Good, because I already told Mr. Hoot you're his best friend too." And in that quiet kitchen, filled with the smell of glue and burnt toast and the sound of a little girl humming, Elena finally understood. Forgiveness wasn't about erasing the past. It was about choosing every day to build something better on top of it. She wasn't the woman who took the money anymore. She was the one who gave it back, and that was enough. Rain tapped softly against the park bench, a steady rhythm that matched the quiet hum of the city waking up. Elena sat with her sketchbook open, pencil moving slowly across the page. A little boy chasing bubbles, his laugh caught in the curve of his cheeks. She didn't notice Daniel at first. He just appeared beside her, holding 2 paper cups of coffee, his coat damp at the shoulders, hair tousled from the wind. Mind if I join you? He asked. She smiled, closing her sketchbook. Only if you promise not to spill coffee on my drawings. He handed her a cup. Black, 1 sugar. Just how you like it. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching parents push strollers, dogs tug on leashes, kids race around the playground shrieking with joy. It had been 3 months since the gala, since the truth came out, since everything cracked open and let the light in. 3 months of slow rebuilding, not just of trust, but of something quieter, deeper. You've been distant, he said finally, not accusing, just noticing. Elena looked down at her coffee. I've been thinking. About? About how easy it is to believe you don't deserve good things, she said softly. Even when they're right in front of you. He nodded like he understood. You think you're too broken for this, for us? I think I spent so long trying to survive that I forgot how to just be happy, she admitted. Every time something good happens, part of me waits for the other shoe to drop. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, My wife used to say that joy isn't the absence of pain, it's the choice to hold both at the same time. Elena looked at him. Raindrops clung to his eyelashes. I'm not asking you to forget your past, he said. I'm just asking you to stop letting it decide your future. Before she could respond, a small voice called out, Ellie! Lily came running through the drizzle, boots splashing in puddles, her yellow raincoat flapping like wings. She skidded to a stop in front of them, breathless, holding a soggy piece of paper. I drew you something, she announced, shoving it into Elena's hands. It was a picture of the 3 of them, Daniel, Lily, and Elena, standing under a big umbrella, smiling. Above them, in wobbly letters, Our family. No more secrets. Elena's throat tightened. It's beautiful, Lily. Daddy helped with the umbrella, Lily said proudly. But I did the hearts. Sure enough, 3 red hearts floated above their heads, slightly lopsided but full of love. Daniel reached over and squeezed Elena's hand. His fingers were warm even in the rain. She's been asking every night if you're coming to dinner. I've been scared, Elena whispered. Of what? Lily asked, tilting her head. Of messing it up, Elena said honestly. Lily frowned. But you didn't mess up. You said sorry, and you came back. That's what heroes do, Daniel smiled. She's got a point. Elena took a deep breath. The rain had softened to a mist now, the kind that made the world feel hushed and close. She looked at the 2 people in front of her. This man who chose kindness over pride, this child who loved without conditions, and realized she didn't have to be perfect to belong. She just had to show up. I'm sorry I pulled away, she said. I won't do it again. Lily beamed and climbed onto the bench between them, leaning her head on Elena's shoulder. Good, because I need you to help me with my school play. I'm a tree. A tree? Daniel laughed. Yeah. And I get to stand still and whisper to the wind. It's very important. Elena wrapped an arm around her. I'll help you make the best tree costume ever. That evening, they walked back to Daniel's apartment together, sharing one umbrella. Lily skipped ahead, singing a made-up song about owls and rainbows. Inside, the apartment smelled like soup and crayons. Elena helped Lily glue leaves onto her tree costume while Daniel chopped vegetables for dinner. Later, as Lily brushed her teeth, Daniel stood in the kitchen doorway, watching Elena carefully paint tiny glitter veins onto a paper leaf. You know, he said, I never thought I'd feel this again. Feel what? Hopeful, he said simply. Like the future isn't just something to get through, but something to look forward to. She met his eyes. Me neither. He didn't kiss her then, not yet. But he took her hand and pressed it to his chest, right over his heart. It's beating faster when you're near. Has been for a while, she smiled. Mine too. The next few weeks settled into a new kind of normal. Elena moved her design studio into a corner of Daniel's living room, not because she'd officially moved in, but because her laptop, sketchbooks, and favorite mug kept mysteriously migrating there. Lily started leaving little notes on Elena's pillow. You're the best drawer. Don't forget to eat lunch. Love you, Ellie. One Saturday morning, Elena woke up on the couch. She'd fallen asleep helping Lily build a cardboard castle, and found Daniel sitting on the floor beside her, sipping coffee, watching cartoons with Lily. Morning, he murmured. Did I drool? She asked, rubbing her eyes. Just a little, Lily said, giggling. But I wiped it with my sleeve. Elena laughed, sitting up. You're too good to me. No, Daniel said, handing her a mug. You're just finally letting yourself be loved. It wasn't grand. It wasn't dramatic. But it was real. Then came the day Daniel asked her to meet him at the community center where Brave Pages was being used in after-school programs. He was nervous, she could tell by the way he kept adjusting his sleeves. Inside, the room was empty except for a small table covered with a cloth. On it sat a book. Not just any book, it was handmade. Thick paper, soft cover, filled with drawings, Lily's drawings. Page after page showed their story. Ellie meeting Daddy at the restaurant, Ellie giving Lily a sparkly pen, Ellie working on the computer, Ellie hugging Lily in the rain. At the end, a blank page. Daniel stood beside her, hands in his pockets. Lily and I made this together. She said every love story needs a beginning, a middle, and a chance to write the rest. He opened the blank page. Written in Lily's handwriting, "Will you stay?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. You didn't have to do this. I wanted to, he said. Not with a ring. Not with a speech, just with truth. He took her hand. I'm not asking you to be my wife today. I'm asking you to keep building this life with us. One honest day at a time. She looked at Lily, who was bouncing on her toes, eyes wide with hope. Yes, Elena said, voice thick. 1,000 times, yes, Lily squealed and threw her arms around Elena's waist. Now you're really my Ellie. That night they celebrated with pancakes for dinner, Lily's idea, and watched old movies on the couch, all three of them tucked under one blanket. At one point, Lily fell asleep between them, head on Elena's lap, thumb in her mouth. Daniel reached over and brushed a strand of hair from Elena's face. You okay? She nodded, looking down at Lily's peaceful face. I never thought I'd have this. A home, a family, someone who sees me, even the messy parts, and stays. He kissed her forehead, soft and sure. You're not messy, Elena, you're human, and that's exactly why we love you. Months passed. Elena officially moved in. Not with boxes and fanfare, but gradually until her toothbrush was next to his, her sweaters hung in the closet, and her laugh echoed in the hallway every evening. She still worked on Brave Pages, but now she also helped design programs for kids who'd lost parents, drawing from her own grief to create something gentle and kind. Daniel stopped wearing his wedding ring on a chain, not because he forgot, but because he'd finally made peace with the past, and was ready to hold the future with both hands. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Lily asleep inside, Daniel turned to Elena. You know what my wife would have loved about you? He asked. What? That you never tried to replace her, he said. You just made space for us to heal, together. Elena leaned into him. I think she'd be proud of you, too, for letting love in again. He wrapped an arm around her. It wasn't easy, but you made it feel worth it. Inside, Lily stirred in her sleep, calling out softly, Ellie, don't go. Elena got up and went to her, smoothing her hair, whispering, I'm right here. Sweetheart, always. When she came back to the balcony, Daniel was holding 2 mugs of tea. No grand gestures, he said, handing her one. Just us. Just this. And in that quiet moment, no cameras, no headlines, no past shadows, Elena finally understood. Love wasn't about perfect beginnings or flawless plans. It was about showing up day after day with your heart open even when you've stumbled. It was about choosing each other. Not because it was easy, but because it was true. The city lights blinked on below them, one by one, like stars waking up. And in their little corner of the world, 3 hearts beat in rhythm, scarred, healed, and finally fully home.